Hello, and welcome to another edition of Time About the Movies. We have finally made it all the way to Christmas Day weekend 1989, December 22nd. This is actually technically the last weekend of the 80s to actually have new movies opening up, because most of the movies that would follow the weeks afterwards were basically basically the same movies that we'd had over the last couple of weeks. And you're probably wondering how I'm going to emphasize that going into the next two episodes. Well, I'll tell you about that at the end of this video, but right now we have four movies to look at. Four pretty substantial movies, and we're going to start off with the biggest of the newest releases. Tom Cruise in Oliver Stone's Born on the 4th of July.
I wanted to be a good American. I wanted to serve my country. I couldn't wait to fight my first war.
We got him! We got him! Look out!
Let the word go forth.
Daddy, the soldier!
The torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans.
Your brother's a hard worker, Tommy. Win or lose. School, sports, life. As long as you do your best. That's what matters to God.
First off, young men, let's get one thing straight. There is nothing prouder as a United States Marine.
Our dad's got to go to WW2. This is our chance to do something.
You should think about what you're doing. You could get yourself killed. Did you ever think about that?
Just help me, Jesus. Help me to make the right decision. Sometimes I just like to stay here and never leave. But I gotta go.
13,000 miles. It's a long way to go to fight a war.
Don't you know what it means to me to be a Marine, Dad? Ever since I was a kid, I've wanted this. I wanted to serve my country. I want to go to Vietnam. And I'll die there if I have to.
There's something happening here.
You gotta try and stay alive, okay? You hear me?
Ain't exactly clear.
Chicago has an Alice in Wonderland quality about it. Things are getting curiouser and curiouser.
Come on, get up there. Get up there. Keep going. Keep going. Come on.
Daddy's home!
Stop, children.
Mom!
Honey!
Look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn, and nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their mind are getting so much resistance from behind. We find a way to stop. Hey, what's that sound?
Why are you here tonight?
We are here to tell the truth. People say if you don't love America, then get the hell out. Well, I love America.
This is Tom Cruise's big follow-up to Rain Man, which did not get him any Academy Award consideration, even though the movie won Best Picture. He did get nominated for Best Actor for this movie. Oliver Stone won Best Director for this. He also was nominated for Best Screenplay. Was also nominated for Best Picture, but of course lost to Driving Miss Daisy. And this is classic Oliver Stone. This is Oliver Stone doing what Oliver Stone does best, and Born on the 4th of July is a fantastic movie. It's the first movie that really showcases more of what Tom Cruise can do as an actor. Like, Tom Cruise wasn't a bad actor prior to this. I mean, he did Rain Man, he did Top Gun. But this was the first movie that branched him out as an actor. I think more people started to realize, hey, this guy has actually got some potential. He's got some acting chops here. And we would see later on down the line that he does have a lot of acting chops. He's a pretty solid actor. It can be crazy at times, but when he puts his all into a performance, it definitely shows here. And this is one of his best performances. He plays this character of Ron Kovic so well, because it's based off of Ron Kovic's life story, the story of Born on the 4th of July. It takes place during the Vietnam War, and Tom Cruise channels this performance very well. He gives a great performance here. You really feel for this character. This performance really should have won Best Actor in 1989. I can't remember off the top of my head what won Best Actor. Give me one sec. Daniel Day-Lewis in My Left Foot, which I already said was a great performance, yeah, if I had to choose between Daniel Day-Lewis and Tom Cruise, I'd probably say Daniel Day-Lewis's performance was better in My Left Foot. Just barely. I mean, this was a very good year for acting nominees, and I thought Tom Cruise gave the second best performance of the 5 nominated actors. But it's a great performance by him. I do kind of wish it won best actor and best picture, but like I said, I don't hate Driving Miss Daisy, but I do think this, out of the 5 nominated movies, I feel like this one probably should have won best picture, in my opinion, because I just thought it was the better movie out of all the 5 nominated films. I mean, this movie is just a wonderful, wonderful movie. The performances are great. The writing is top notch. They do a great job bringing you back to the time of the Vietnam War and the 60s and the 70s and all that. And it's just a phenomenal, phenomenal movie. Just a fantastic film. One of Oliver Stone's best movies. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it already. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. And the next movie is Tango and Cash.
I'll tell you one thing. Whoever set us up is really connected.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Relax. Soap. And don't flatter yourself.
Meet Ray Tango. He likes money.
Easy come, easy go.
But doesn't bother with cash. Meet Gabe Cash. He won't dance around trouble and doesn't mind stepping on toes.
It's karate, guys.
2 of LA's top rival cops are having a good time staying in rhythm.
You know me, huh?
Yeah, I hear you're the second best cop in LA.
That's funny. I hear the same thing about you.
But they're going to have to work together, even if it kills them.
Like now!
We'll take it.
No, that's one of a kind.
We won't put a scratch on it. Did you sleep with my sister?
I was so drunk, I don't remember, okay?
Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell. Tango and Cash.
There actually is a lot behind the scenes of this movie that really not a lot of people really talk about, but when you really look at what this movie had to go through, it's pretty crazy. This was supposed to be a pairing of Sylvester Stallone and Patrick Swayze. Swayze dropped out to do Roadhouse. This was actually supposed to be directed, but this is directed by Andrei Konchalovsky, who did Runaway Train, which is a phenomenal, underrated action film. If you haven't seen that one, you should definitely check it out. And he was fired from the movie nearly 3 months before the movie was supposed to come out. They switched directors. The director was replaced by Albert Magnoli, and then one of the executive producers, Peter McDonald, who actually directed Stallone in Rambo 3, he came in to direct the movie at one point. He was one of the second unit directors. Stallone had Barry Sonnenfeld, as cinematographer, fired from the film, and he had the guy who did Lock Up, the cinematography on that one, Donald E. Thorne, he came in to replace them. And so the movie just barely made it to theaters before its December release date. This was supposed to come out on December 15th, but because of everything that had been going on, Warner Brothers had to had to push the movie back a week, and the film barely got finished. Let me put it this way. The film was released in theaters on December 22nd. They finished filming this on October 20th. That's 8 weeks before the movie was scheduled to come out in theaters. I mean, the story behind this movie is unbelievable. Like, you can't believe this crazy insanity behind this particular movie. And when you watch the trailer and you watch the movie, you can kind of see why. I mean, when you look at it, they really don't have an idea of what they wanted to do here. I don't know if they wanted to make fun of the buddy cop comedy scenario or action movies in general, because there's times in this movie where they'll make self-referential jokes about something. Like, there's one part where Stallone makes fun of Rambo, and it's funny, but it just feels out of place for what they were trying to do here. And it's just like, it's crazy the behind-the-scenes drama this movie had behind it. Yeah, just this behind-the-scenes drama behind this movie is unbelievable. But what's even more unbelievable is that this movie is actually kind of fun. Like, it is kind of fun watching Stallone and Kurt Russell work off of each other. I mean, don't get me wrong, the movie is a mess. It's a mess of a movie, but it's one of those fun messes. It's one of those so bad it's good movies that you watch and you look at it and you go, you know what? I'm kind of having a lot of fun with this. It's incredibly stupid. The plot just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The writing and the tone and what they're trying to do is all over the place. But at the same time, you can't help but laugh at some of the most ridiculous things about it. I mean, it reminded me so much of Over the Top. I mean, it's a movie about arm wrestling, and yet somehow it's a bad movie, but it's one of those movies that is so enjoyably bad that you just can't help but love it. It's one of those ridiculous, insane movies. This one isn't too insane, but just the stuff behind the scenes and just the craziness that goes on in between what happened behind the scenes and what's on the screen, it makes it more fun than I think it needs to be. It's one of those movies that I think is so bad it's good. It's one I definitely think you should watch. If you love a so bad it's good movie, this is definitely one you want to see. Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell in Tango and Cash. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Steven Spielberg's remake of Always.
Tanker base! We got a situation here! Sector K! We're cooking! Let's go! Let's go! You magnificent pagan god! Of course reply something inside.
So tell me you love me. Tell me, tell me, tell me. Oh, tell me, tell me!
Where'd you get that oil on your face?
Where?
Well, it's here. It's terrible.
Thanks.
Someday you'll find all the love are blind.
A life of danger.
My engine's on fire! Can you believe that? And I was in such a good mood.
A land of fire.
Hey, that dive is way too steep!
They thought their world had ended.
I know you can't see me,
It had only just begun.
but I'm right here.
From director Steven Spielberg. Always.
You know, much as I like Steven Spielberg as a filmmaker, and I really do love his work as a filmmaker. I get excited every time a new movie comes out. The guy has not been perfect. I mean, he, like everybody else, everyone is entitled to make a couple bad movies here and there. Not to say that this is a bad movie, but how do I put this? It's one of those times where he tried a little too hard to be a little Oscar baity. He had done that a couple of times, like before Indiana Jones, he did Empire of the Sun, which is not a terrible movie, but it's one of those movies where I think everybody kind of knew he's milking it to try to get some Oscar consideration for this. Unlike a movie like The Color Purple, which is very much an Oscar bait movie, but an Oscar bait movie that is very well done. And I think Spielberg realized that after this movie came out, that this is just kind of like he's got to be better with these type of movies. And so he made Schindler's List, which is a classic movie. It's one of those movies that's so great, but so hard to watch. I mean, we'll get to that one eventually, but when you look at Always, I think, is a movie that's trying to be something different and unique for Steven Spielberg. It's a smaller scale movie compared to what we usually see from him. It's perfectly I would say this. It's perfectly fine for what it is. I like Richard Dreyfuss in this. I like Holly Hunter. I think these two actually made a much better movie a couple years later called Once Around. We'll get to that in 91. John Goodman's great in this. Brad Johnson is pretty good here. Audrey Hepburn's character is very good in this for the little bit she's in. It's not a terrible movie. It's a solidly made movie, but for Steven Spielberg, when you have that type of a director on board here, you gotta really put your A game here. And I really don't think he did it. I think this goes back to one of the things about Steven Spielberg is that he'll put more effort into one movie that comes out the same year than he does another film. And I think this is one of those examples. Like when you watch for example, when you watch Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, phenomenal movie. Always, not so much. Jurassic Park, great. The rare example of him getting it right both times. Jurassic Park, great movie. Schindler's List, great movie. And then 97 comes around when you have the lesser extent. The Lost World, which I still think is his worst movie. And Amistad, which is about on the same level as this. And then you have something like War of the Worlds, which is Munich, great film. What else? Another rare example of a good year. Minority Report, fantastic sci-fi film. Catch Me If You Can, great movie, great caper film. And then you have another example of one's good, one eh, and the good one, Tintin and War Horse. Tintin's the better movie. War Horse, not so much. War Horse is right up there with one of Spielberg's worst films. I mean, he does this a lot, but most of the time he's very consistent. But this is one of those times where he really was trying too hard to get an Oscar out of this. And I think a movie like Ghost mainly did this plot a lot better, and we'll get to Ghost in the next year, but I don't know. I mean, it's not like I said, not a bad movie, but it's a movie that doesn't really hold a lot of rewatchability for me and a lot of people, and it just really just kind of, it's just not one of his better movies. It's instantly forgettable. You watch it, you move on, and then you see something much better from him later on down the line. But that's my thoughts on Always. Not a bad movie, but not a good movie either. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie, and that is Michael Moore's Roger and Me.
For 3 generations, Flint, Michigan, USA, built cars for General Motors, the world's largest corporation, until Roger Smith, the chairman of General Motors, shut down the assembly lines.
We do not have any plan to cut our workforce.
Closed 11 automobile plants.
This is not a plant closing, it's a loss of one product line.
And laid off 30,000 workers.
He has as much concern about these people as you do.
Now, Michael Moore, a filmmaker who grew up in Flint, takes us back to his hometown.
We just love it so. The stores, what's left of them.
Sheriff's Department, it's a great place to live. You need to put you up. Evict you from the house right now.
To meet the people.
Those people are hungry, he's not.
Where are you guys going?
Oh, we're going up to the 14th floor.
Do you have an appointment?
No, we're going to try and see Roger Smith.
No, you're not.
See the city.
Jackie, what are some of the things that visitors ask us here?
First off, where is the bathroom?
And find out why the world's largest automaker abandoned them both.
I feel sorry for the people that have kids right now. What are they going to grow up to? What are they looking forward to?
Roger and Me, the story of one man's search for the truth.
I have one question.
Would you mind leaving?
On the sidewalk.
Well, General Motors.
That's off limits. Mr. Smith is not in.
I don't think we've met. I really don't know.
This guy, out.
Roger and Me.
And Flint, Michigan would never have a problem again. Yeah, Roger and Me. Anyway, if you know what happened in Flint, Michigan with the water and all that, you'd know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Roger and Me. Michael Moore's first film that really got him onto the open. I believe this is actually his first film in general. This is his directorial debut, and for a directorial debut, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty funny. It's a well-made documentary. I like that. Michael Moore. Say what you will about the guy. He does put his heart and soul into these movies. He really does, and this is just a great movie to watch and see how he's trying his best to really get inside these people's heads, these people that the movie is antagonizing, and it's just so funny and so insane to watch. It's insanity. It's insanity at some points in here. And it's a movie that honestly really does hold up well over time. I mean, this is a movie that was made back in 1989, and it still has a lot of merit even today when you see all these automobile plants and this town getting completely wiped out. And sadly, you're seeing a lot more of that across the country and wherever you live in. You're seeing all these places that were used to be booming businesses, and they leave, and then all of a sudden everything else shuts down. It's something that sadly is taking place a lot all over the country, and it's like I said, it's something that really does hold the test of time. It stands the test of time, and you really do come back to it, and you realize a lot of this stuff can still hold up even today, no matter where you live. But just a wonderful, wonderful movie. I think it's very underrated because compared to what Michael Moore has done since then. Definitely check this one out. Roger and Me. Fantastic film. You gotta check it out. And with that said, that's going to wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We have one more week of 1989 to do, but There's, like I said before, there's no movies coming out. This was really the last week for new movies because of the holidays, and we won't get new movies again until the second weekend of January. So I wanted to do a list of the movies that I couldn't find on Box Office Mojo, but I went through Wikipedia to see the 89 film list, and I found a bunch of movies on here. And when I say a bunch, I mean a bunch. I mean, let me see how many there are here. Alright, so I counted here, there's 16 movies that was not on Wikipedia's page, but came out in 1989. These are movies that I have yet to cover on this show. And so I figure, why not for the next 2 weeks to look at, we'll look at these movies that did come out in 1989. We have a lot of different ones here. We have Wicked Stepmother. We have Castle in the Sky, a Miyazaki film. The most notable film on here was Akira, which came out in America in 1989. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to split this up into 2 episodes. We'll do 8 movies each, and I'll make sure I get this list covered. So that'll be the next 2 episodes, and we'll see part 1 of that tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that, and thank you guys for watching as always. If you want to see more episodes like this, check out the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode as well. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next episode, and until then, take care.